What's up, everybody? It's your boy back with another reaction video, and I will be reacting to for real life. Oh, and for some reason, I said the word right, but in my brain, I was saying wife, life, sleep, paralysis horror story. Wait, for real life. Oh, for real life. Okay, the all caps throwing me off. I'm like, wait, for real. Oh man, it's late or early. Maybe that's why. I'm gonna put that on that. Anyway, yeah, for real life sleep paralysis horror stories. This is from Mr. No, I'm sorry, not Mr. Nightmare. Nightmare Files. I don't think I reacted to this. I was going to do a check, but I'm actually exporting a video right now of another reaction that I've done, and it makes my computer go really slowly because it takes up a lot of the CPU. So um, I didn't look it up, but I'm not sure. I know I've looked at sleep paralysis stories from either Mr. Nightmare or it might have been some other channel, but other than Nightmare Files. But if I have, this will be up. So it could be double the same video up twice. Anyway, let's just get into this. I don't want to talk too much. I thought this said it was 16. Am I tripping? Maybe I was looking at something else. Anyway, here we go.
And a lot of people, so I thought nothing of it and was getting ready to go back to sleep. As usual, my bedroom door was open with the hallway light turned on, and that's when I saw it.
And that's when I saw it, and I shit myself. Diarrhea shit. John Wesley, is that the old Flash from the 90s TV show? John, what's his name? John
This dream has
Ship
stayed with me
Wesley.
for years. Although not profound or life-altering, I've never been able to shake the memory and the feeling of absolute terror and dread. To give some context, this was a number of years ago. Currently, I'm 23 years old. When this dream occurred, I was around the age of 11. As a child, I suffered from sleep paralysis for a number of years. At first, this terrified me to the point of me not wanting to sleep. It became so bad that I pushed myself to states of exhaustion before my body could no longer remain conscious, and I would just pass out, only to return to the horrifying imagery of my subconscious. The first time I ever experienced sleep paralysis, I still lived with my aunt. I awoke to the sensation of not being able to move, and this confused me but didn't scare me. It was only when I saw what stood in the corner of my room did the fear really start to set in. It was a hooded figure in all black.
Oh, fuck.
In his hand was some kind of weapon. It stood there staring at me.
Where is this
my
from?
My eyes widened as I prayed for this to be some kind of dream or hallucination.
It was a scene from this from a movie
its
or
sharp, crooked dagger
a short film or something.
It slowly began to turn its head like a doll, continuing until it was at such an unnatural angle, and then it started to inch towards me. It didn't walk. It simply began to move closer. I can't really explain it. It edged closer to me, still staring at me. Looking back, I can still picture it, and it disgusts me. It continued until it was halfway across the room.
If it looked at me like this,
then without warning, it just stopped. This is when my blood ran cold. It slowly raises its arm from beneath its cloak to reveal its hideous, revolting arm. A mixture of rotting flesh and bone, decomposing right there in front of me. And the sight of it made me want to throw up. Then it did something I would never forget. Slow and methodically, it raised its hand and began to point. Not at random, not at something in my room, but at me. My eyes widened further, and my heart began to thump in my chest. It then places both hands upon his head and began to pull and twist his head back into place. The noise it made sent shivers down my spine.
That sounds like the thing
and chills all over my body. It cracked and creaked and
Darkness
screamed back into
Falls,
place,
with the
and
Tooth
then the
Fairy.
figure began to
She
approach
made
me.
noises like that.
It was at that point full-blown panic set in, and I began to struggle. I kicked and twisted and tried to throw my body, but I couldn't move. I couldn't move at all. I was trapped, paralyzed. I tried my best, but I could not break free. So I did what anyone would do in this situation. I screamed.
Oh,
I screamed with all my might.
myself.
I thought that if my family was alerted, maybe they could stop it.
Let me guess,
it'd go
nothing
away,
came out.
or at the very least, they'd surely see what happened to me. But to my absolute dismay, no sound came out of my mouth. I tried again, but the same result. By now, the figure was almost at the foot of my bed. I continued to cry out for help. In my head, I was screaming like a madman, but in reality, not a sound could be heard. I looked up and it's here. The figure's at the foot of my bed. Only now it's not smiling. Now it looks even more terrifying.
Now it's pissed off.
Its teeth are aligned jaggedly, and I know it's going to sound stupid, but it looked hungry. I continued to struggle. It got closer and closer until it was right in front of me, at the side of my bed.
You just have to remember,
I was frozen.
You're not
It leaned in until it
real.
was face to face with me.
You're not
And it was at this
real.
point I thought my life was
You
over.
just keep saying that while it's
It
killing
reached
you.
its arms out toward me, and it screamed a blood-curdling scream. I tried to close my eyes and prepare myself to be ripped apart, but no.
How do you
nothing.
prepare
Just
yourself
like
to be
that, it
ripped
was gone.
apart?
I looked around my room with my heart thumping so hard I thought it would escape
Do
my
you
ribcage.
like tighten up?
I was sweating profusely.
Make it hard
was
for it to tear you to
completely
pieces?
afraid. I scanned the room, but it was empty. I turned on the light, still nothing. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. My light stayed on. The previous night's ordeal haunted me for the next day, and I couldn't focus. I just wasn't myself. I tried to talk about it with my aunt, but she just blew me off and said it was a bad dream and maybe a demon that had
She
taken a
get
liking to me.
Get the fuck out of here.
I dreaded going to bed all day.
Why would she
Then
say
when
that?
night
It may be a
came, I
demon
wasn't prepared.
that took a
I
liking
was
to you.
terrified.
Like,
I
bitch,
decided I wouldn't sleep in fear of whatever I saw would return.
kind of Ann are you?
I tried my hardest, but eventually I began to drift away, and I struggled. My eyes became heavy, and tears began streaming down my
That
face.
just had to be back in the
I
day when
couldn't
people
face
didn't,
it.
when
Whatever that
parents
thing
didn't
was,
give, or
it had
adults
shaken
didn't give
me to my
a
very
fuck
core.
about you.
It
Oh,
might
you having
sound
bad
silly to
dreams?
some,
Get the
but
fuck
I
out of
genuinely
here.
believed that when I fell back to sleep, that my life would be in serious danger. I sobbed and cried myself to sleep. The next morning I woke up and I was fine. No figure, no traumatic experience, nothing. Later on, I would learn about sleep paralysis, as I did end up suffering from it quite a few years. And I ended up doing some research, which confirmed it all to be just sleep-related hallucinations. Eventually, I did discover tricks to overcome the experience, and it works. If you too experience sleep paralysis, try researching it like I did. Good luck.
I think I'll tell them I've experienced sleep paralysis twice that I can remember, but I'll talk about it later. If I remember at the end of this the video.
I'm a 17-year-old girl and I'm homeschooled. In my free time, which can be most of the time, I like to watch true crime documentaries, forensic files, and sometimes a good thriller. I've been having constant nightmares, nothing out of the ordinary. Some bother me, some don't. I tend to wake up a few times during the night because I have a hard time staying asleep. One night I woke up, nothing wrong. Just kind of glanced at my phone and just out of the habit looking over at my door. There is a hallway over there, and I look because I always think that I might see something. I wear glasses, by the way, so I know my eyes can play tricks on me in the dark, and shadows are casting on the wall. This particular night, I woke up twice. When I woke up the
I
second
know how
time,
that go.
I did the same exact thing. I looked at my phone on my left, then rolled over to my right, and I see a figure of some sort directly across from me in front of my closet. My closet is close to my bed and didn't have anything to cast shadows onto.
Was it insidious?
The thing was wearing a cloak and was dark with deep crevices in its face.
I remember
with red
that.
eyes.
I ain't gonna lie, that kind of it made
It was
me
just
joke
smiling
when I
at me.
first saw this movie. And
I didn't stare at it long,
see it. I was
just
like,
enough to know
fuck.
it wasn't my eyes playing tricks on me.
Because it wasn't a movie just
I
standing
quickly
there.
shut my eyes and laid straight, hoping nothing would happen. My heart was beating so hard it was like I could hear it. I started to feel movement at the bottom of my blanket, and I completely froze, scared to move an inch.
Something nibbling
I've heard
on your
about sleep
toes.
paralysis, but knew that wasn't the case, being that I can move. I spoke to my brother who studied psychology and asked about it. He gave me some advice and told me to spell out words in my head. Each night I have felt this presence of something in my room, but I was too afraid to try and open my eyes. I have recently gotten an eye mask to block out the sun in the morning, so when I open my eyes,
What you do is you put your blanket over your head.
Last night when I was asleep,
come in
I had
there.
the mask
It's
on.
a rule.
I woke up and heard an off noise muffling my fan.
It can't get you underneath the blanket.
The crack under my eye mask, but this time it was different. I couldn't move. It was actually sleep paralysis. I immediately felt my heart beating again, and I started spelling out words in my head as my brother told me to.
And I started having a fucking heart attack.
Again, I still saw the figure. I don't know whether to believe if there was an actual demon hunting me, or I'm actually going insane. But the advice my brother gave me, it didn't help.
This shit didn't help. There's some psychiatrists, what you said, psychiatrist, psychologist, or whatever, some mind doctor you.
In 2006 or 7, when I was around 8 or 9 years old, I experienced something quite strange. I had never really seen anything that could be considered creepy at my house, but one night, I certainly did. It was around midnight when I happened to wake up. This is pretty common in a lot of people, so I thought nothing of it and was getting ready to go back to sleep. As usual, my bedroom door was open with the hallway light turned on, and that's when I saw it. An abnormally tall, dark, faceless black figure in the corner of my room. It was looking down at me, staying quiet. I knew
something was gonna happen, and it still,
I didn't really know what to think of it.
Like it still like scared me.
I
like
did not feel scared
internally.
I was merely wondering, what is this thing? The tall figure continued to stand there, still staring at me. This seemed too real to be.
What the fuck is on his head? What is
I decided to slowly turn around and face the wall instead. I covered myself with the blankets and closed my eyes. I don't know what the tall figure did after that, if it even left or not. The next thing I knew, it was morning. I decided against telling my parents about what had
stayed there all night.
They were pretty hardcore Christians, and I honestly did not want them to freak out. Yet, I eventually did decide to tell my mother about it. When I told her about it, surprisingly, she didn't freak out. Instead, she told me that she too seen a very similar, if not the same figure. Except her encounter was very different, and much more disturbing than mine. According to my mother's account, the tall, dark figure had also appeared to her in the middle of the night, but she was suffering from sleep paralysis. My father remained asleep next to her. Suddenly, the tall figure lunged itself at my mother and began to choke her. She was able to think of a prayer in her head when the dark figure finally backed away and disappeared. It was only then that my father woke up, but he still had no idea what had just happened. My mother then told me the reason I had not been attacked is because supposedly demons, as she thought it was, do not attack children. Personally, I see it as an omen. Some terrible things have happened.
Anybody seen The Exorcist?
After the appearance of that dark figure, but I've since recovered and have a lot of support. I'm 20 years old now and still live in the same house, yet I've never experienced anything like that ever since. I can only wonder what that tall, dark figure was thinking as it stared at me on that night.
Thinking about fucking you up, that's what it's thinking about.
I experienced sleep paralysis twice in my life so far. I will share both stories. I'm turning 22 this year. My first experience happened during the summer of 2015, and it was downright terrifying. It was before my senior year in high school. I've been watching horror stories on YouTube, which at the time was
Is that a fucking balloon outside?
I came across a video of a horror narrator named Lazy Masquerade called 8 True Terrifying Sleep Paralysis Stories.
I watched stuff on that channel too.
I thought to myself, sleep paralysis. What the hell is that? Anyways, less than a week later, I experienced it.
What does it sound like?
I woke up at like 4:30 in the morning. I was laying on my back. I couldn't move. I woke up at like 4:30 in the morning. I was laying on my back. I couldn't move. All I could move were my eyes. All of a sudden, I saw a tall, dark figure. It looked like a man wearing a black hoodie with his hood up.
How these people wearing hoodies?
250 pounds. Yeah, 6'4", 250. It sounds cliche,
No wonder
I
the
know.
police
I couldn't
shoot
see his
people with
face, but he
hoodies.
was looking down at me. This probably lasted about 2 minutes, but I was laying there thinking this man was going to slice my throat at any second. That's pretty much all I remember from that experience. Kind of ironic how shortly after watching a video on sleep paralysis stories, I experienced it. That was almost 5 years ago. And recently I had another experience. I had woken up a lot earlier than usual because my older sister was visiting us and had my niece and nephew with her. I visited for a little bit and caught up with my family that doesn't live with us. My parents took them and my younger sister out for lunch. I didn't go because we wouldn't be back in time for me to get ready for work. So I decided to go back to sleep for 2 more hours, then get ready for work. I woke up and thought I heard footsteps and a girl laughing. It wasn't my mom or my sisters. It didn't sound like a girl that I knew. I was laying on my back with my head turned facing the wall next to my bed, but also facing my window.
Was a
I could see
Phantom
my
from
cat
Sleepy
sitting
Hollow,
my
the
futon,
headless horseman.
staring at the corner of the room where my door was. Then I realized I couldn't move. I tried. I was completely paralyzed. I could only move my eyes. I only heard the laughing 3 times and the footsteps twice. It was coming from the hallway. My cat was staring intently at the corner I couldn't face. And I swear I felt like someone was in my room, which didn't make sense. Because even if someone was in our house, my cat would hide. She doesn't like new people. This only lasted about 2 to 3 minutes. Next thing I remember, I could get up and I got ready for work. I told my coworkers about it.
Well, that was
And we
crazy.
kind of just laughed and joked about it. My supervisor even told me a story that happened to one of his friends, supposedly talking to Satan during a sleep paralysis experience. I told my family later that night when I got home.
Speaking Lucifer Morningstar.
Those are 2 stories of my sleep paralysis experiences. It's weird how your mind plays scary tricks on you like that sometimes.
The mind is a powerful thing, my friend. Boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. Boom, boom. I don't know if I'm doing Law and Order or like, what the fuck was I doing? I'm trying to remember what I was doing it from. What was that from? It was a boom, 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 boom. Well, I mean, it's from the 80s. I mean, a lot of 80s horror movies had that thing. Oh, The Thing. Yep. Maybe I'll watch that sometime. I actually been thinking about watching that for a while now on this channel. I mean, I've seen The Thing plenty of times, even the old one that it was based off of, from what was it, 1950s. But yeah, I was thinking about looking at that. But yeah, I guess I'll tell my sleep paralysis stories. I don't really remember how old I was in the first one. I think in the second one I was 11. And I know I was younger than that in the first one myself, but the first one, I mean, well, I'll say the second one, when I was like around 12, I pretty much, it wasn't even a full body paralysis. I woke up and I couldn't move my legs. And when I was a kid, that was one of my greatest fears, being like paralyzed, because I met a guy who had been paralyzed. He had shot I think he had shot in his stomach, and it went through and like hit his spine, so he was paralyzed from the waist down. And I remember seeing it, and I was like, man, like I can't move. I was thinking that made me scared. And then when I got older, I was more afraid, like going blind, especially when my vision was getting like gradually getting worse as I got older. But yeah, and I couldn't move my legs. I remember I trying to get out of bed, ended up falling out of bed, and I couldn't move my legs. And I sat there and I started panicking, and I just pushed myself. I backed myself up into a wall, and I couldn't feel my legs. I couldn't feel anything. And I don't know what the fuck was going on. And I was just like, and then Oh, and then all of a sudden, I just sat down and I started trying to calm myself down, start breathing, and I was taking deep breaths. And I sat there. I don't know how long I sat there for. It felt like forever, but all of a sudden I started, feeling like tingling in my legs, in my toes, and even when I was trying to scratch my legs, and I was scratching them hard. I left scratch marks in my leg because I was trying to feel something. But after a while, it like just went away, and I can move my legs, and I got up, and that has never happened again. So I don't know what the fuck that was. Like, I don't know if it was like, I don't know if I had a stroke, something said in it. But if I did, why would it only affect my legs? Because I've heard of people having like strokes and like just passing out, or they feel like some go like like the hand go numb or something like that, and they pass out or something. But or I've heard people forgetting how to read and passing out, or forgetting like how to spell words. They like I don't. They like they all of a sudden they don't know anything. Like, I don't know what I was doing. I don't know what this is. And then all of a sudden then they come back. But yeah, that was the second time. The first time it was actual like sleep paralysis where I had a dream, and I was inside my grandmother's bedroom, and I was sleeping on the floor, which was funny because earlier that day I did fall asleep on her floor. But my mom came and picked me up after, because I went there after uh after daycare, and I went. My grandmother picked me up and brought me back to her house, and I remember falling asleep on her floor, and she had like a bunch of she had put in like a bunch of old clothes and garbage bag and just threw them in her closet. And she had it was like a section of the closet that didn't have, the closet didn't go all the way. It was like an opening in the closet, because it was one part that actually had doors, and it went all the way to the window. But the part to the window was a space, so the closet was open. It was probably about maybe like 2 feet in width. If for some reason I don't know why that closet was like that, but she had all them garbage bags like over there, and I remember I fell asleep earlier that, but when I was doing this, I was at home sleeping, and I trying to make sure I remember this correctly. I remember I was asleep, and it's like I woke up, and it was like growling, and it was nighttime at my grandmother, and it was like growling, and something was like trying to get out of the closet, and I will say her closet did look scary right there, because everything was like, it was black garbage bag, and it was just dark right there. And where the closet was, the light from the window, because it was a light like on the other side, because it was a church on the right next to my grandmother's house, but it shined this way, so it couldn't see inside that little spot in the closet, so it looked even worse because it made it look dark. And I remember I was sitting there, and I was laying on the floor, and it was like growling, and something like was underneath the bags trying to get out, and I never saw what it was. It was just growling, and the bags were moving like really, like something was trying to get out from underneath the bags. And I remember I was just screaming and screaming, and I could see uh like people in the kitchen, like my grandmother, my cousins and stuff in the kitchen, and they couldn't hear me. And I was just sitting there on the floor, and then all of a sudden the bags like they were just moving, but they weren't falling out of the closet. Then all of a sudden they started falling out of the closet, like whatever was in was getting out. And I still was trying to scream out. I remember I was in my dream, I was like tearing up, like crying, screaming, and no one could hear me, and I couldn't move. And then all of a sudden, this dream just ended. I woke up, because where we were living at the time, like I didn't have a bedroom, so I slept on a pull-out couch in the living room. And I remember I woke up and it was dark in there, and I couldn't move, and I knew I was awake, and because I woke up out of that dream, and I couldn't move in real life, and I was sitting there like this, looking down. I was just like, and I couldn't move, and but I could speak, but I didn't want to call my dad. I didn't want to wake anybody up, so I just laid there for a while. And I just laid there until I ended up falling back asleep. Fell back asleep and woke up that morning. That would, I guess, I don't know what time it was. I'm gonna say that it was daytime now, and I had to get up and get ready to go to school. And I was just able to move. Like when I woke up, I just automatically got up like I normally do, and I remembered that dream happened. As soon as I got up out of the bed, I was like, I remember what happened, and waking up and not being able to move, and I didn't know what that was. Like, at the time, I hadn't even heard of sleep paralysis, and then that was like, I mean, that was early '90s, obviously, but I didn't know anything about it, and that freaked me out. The dream, it's funny because the dream freaked me out even more so than me waking up and not feeling anything, not being able to move. Because like I said, when I was like around 11 or 12, that's when I really had that fear of being paralyzed. But I was more so being, which is weird because I was more so afraid of being paralyzed, like from the waist down, for some reason. But yeah, that was. I still remember that dream, and I remember I had a dream similar to that where, I mean, I could move, but it was something in the closet, my grandma's closet, and it was like clawing, trying to get out. And this time it came and it looked like a black thing. It kind of, like, if you ever seen that movie Attack the Block, it kind of resembled that. Like, you couldn't really tell its shape. It's just like a bunch of fur, but you could see it had like claws, and not the like the turquoise or aqua colored mouth or anything like that. But it was just black, and it was growling. But I was able to move, and I ran so fast out of that house, and I was trying to get my brother. I was trying to get my brother because he was sitting at the kitchen table, and it's like I couldn't speak again. Like I was like yelling, but he wasn't responding to my yelling, and I got so scared, I just ran out. And then when I ran on the side of the house, because where our house, or you could run on the side in the yard, and I could hear my brother. This is my oldest brother, actually not my older brother, and he's yelling, and for some reason, like I could see, and it was like he was throwing, the thing was throwing stuff and knocking windows out, and for some reason, I don't know what, but it's like in my head, I knew I was dreaming, so I was able to take control of the dream, and I ended up jumping through the window like that he broke, and that was in the kitchen, and my brother was on the floor where the kitchen table was, but the thing had like broken the table and thrown it, and he was like holding his arm like this in blood, and I jumped through the window. I got like I was ready to fight it, and I remember like picking up like I don't know what, a piece of wood or something, I think a table leg from the kitchen table, and was like fight this thing, and then woke up. I woke up because I started swinging, and I guess I saw, because I still do that. Like if I'm dreaming, especially if I'm in a dream fighting, I have a tendency to swing and like punch. Like I punch my lamp or I punch this headboard on the back of my bed all the time, and I've done that pretty much all my life. Every time I move, I like punch or I kick, and I've kicked. But I've actually kicked. I've been on the edge of a bed and kicked my whole body, like fell off the bed. And I did that. I swung and ended up punching because I was on a pull-out mattress. I swung and my hand went all the way down, and I ended up punching this metal part of the pull-out mattress, of the pull-out bed, the frame, and punched the frame. Like I woke up like I had like a cut on my hand from it too, on my finger. Oh man. But yeah, that can be scary when you see something and you can't move. Like that's the thing where I've had friends who, they had the fight or flight response, but they have the freeze. And when I'm awake, my response is immediately flight. Like I'll run. Fight is if I'm cornered and then okay, I have to fight. Or you catch up to me or something. But my first instinct is to haul ass. But I've had friends that just like freeze up. They get scared, they just stiff and they can't move. Like, I guess that works, maybe with wild animal. Like you don't run, don't turn your back on anything. They won't chase you. They'll chase me. My first instinct would be to run. But yeah. So anyway, hope y'all enjoyed my reaction. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below. Should subscribe if you're new here. Hit that bell. You may notify when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.